learn today's latest news involving Wesley Fofana as we are readying a fourth bid to sign the Leicester City defender. To move on, we have updates on Trevoh Chalobah, and for the big main story today, learn everything about our new imminent signing in Arsen Zakharyan as we get close to capturing the player now for 15 million euros. Tons of things to break down, discuss. You guys stay tuned today as well for my Leicester City preview coming out later today, and I could be doing a Q&A live stream tonight as well too, so I'll keep you guys up to date with my community page. Hope you guys enjoy. Smash the like button and getting straight into things. So right now, let's discuss the latest news on Wesley Fofana. As I said at the start, we are preparing a fourth bid to sign the defender, and we are in this ever-present, ever-constant negotiation battle with Leicester City. But for me, you guys, I feel like this will be a battle that we end up winning in the end. As time goes on, as we get closer and closer to the end of the transfer window, there's more pressure now for Leicester City to find replacements quickly, of course, to strengthen their team for this season. With news that Maddison is attracting a lot of interest from Newcastle as well too, as well as the fact that Wesley Fofana's head is absolutely turned. He only wants to sign for us. Every day Leicester are wasting is a day they're affecting themselves to sign replacements. Now, reports suggest that they are looking at Akanji from Dortmund. He is their replacement for Fofana. At 27 years old, it seems like he has a valuation of around £20 million, and it seems like Dortmund could possibly be open to a loan move in case time does run out before a deal gets done. So Leicester currently know who their replacements are for sales. Now, in terms of this new fourth bid, the figure seems to be between £75 million to £77 million. Now, we've remained adamant that we won't be making any well-record fees to sign any defenders whatsoever. And in my opinion, I think this is more than a fair amount of money to sign Fofana. I actually think this is way more money than the player is actually worth at this point in time. We know that the base fee involved in this offer is substantial as it allows Leicester to make some moves now in reshaping their squad. All it comes down to now is the final agreements now on the add-ons and the structure of this deal. It seemed like we purposely presented lower structural offers, of course, to put more and more pressure on Leicester City to bow to our demands and to sell him for less than the 85 million they're hoping to earn from his sale. Now we have to remember this. Until we get that verbal agreement with Leicester, then we won't present that official offer right now. Currently, intermediaries are acting on behalf to signal the conditions needed, of course, to present this official offer. And for me, at this point in time, we have nothing to lose. We know Fofana won't be playing against us this weekend, so Leicester City are weakened for this game this weekend. And we know the window ends next week. So for me, we'll probably end up signing our guy for the fee we want. All the interest around your Maguires and other centre-back targets, I think we're just putting those feelers out there for the media to put more pressure on Leicester to have to sell. So I'm feeling confident we'll get this deal over the line. How do you guys feel? Right now, I think it's time to discuss the breaking story of today, and let's talk about our new potential signing in Arsen Zakharyan. Now, this story was first broken by Damasio, and it seems like we are close now to capturing a long-term target. Now, this target was first brought to our attentions last year. Roman Abramovich had big influence in trying to sign this player as well too. We've always known that Roman has always liked the idea and had a soft spot for some of the premier talents from the Russian league to, potentially represent us. We came very close to signing Golovin all those years back until he rejected us to sign for Monaco instead. Anyway, Zakharyan's agent and former player Pavel Andreev is working alongside lawyer Rafaela Pimenta, who was actually taking over the affairs from the now deceased Mino Raiola. They had a working relationship for around 20 years, so she is the best person to take over from his business. And Rafaela Pimenta is actually seen as one of the most powerful women in football currently. She played a massive part in helping Haaland signing for Man City. Anyway, his agent reveals that a deal is now close as we are getting ready now to activate his release clause. And when it comes to his release clause, last year's release clause was set at 12 million euros. But there was a clause in that deal suggesting that it would increase by a further 3 million the following year, and this would only apply to foreign interest and foreign clubs. So we're basically signing a proper serious talent for around £12.6 million, which is an absolute bargain, and it follows in this current trajectory of joining this window of signing premier talents for big money. So that's Chukwuemeka, Kasadi, Slanina, hopefully Endrick as well too, as well as Zakharyan. So knowing the fact that he had 2 years left on his existing deal, this is normally the time to make moves for players. So I guess right now is the perfect time to segue into who exactly the player is. So I guess now is the perfect segue into understanding the player's game. what he's about, and how far his potential can go as well too. At 19 years old, he's already made 4 appearances for the Russian national team, and he is of Armenian heritage. Last season, he recorded 9 goals and 9 assists in 34 appearances. This season, he's got 1 goal and 2 assists and 5 apps so far. He's just turned 19 years old, but he really exploded onto the scene 2 years ago at 17 before making his debut in November 2021. Zakharyan actually rose through 3 different age groups in the Dynamo Moscow setup, and since he's made himself known in that first team, he hasn't looked back. A few months after making his debut in January, he signed his first pro deal, which dramatically elevates his existing youth contracts, but he was earning around £300 a month. And in his debut season, he got 3 goals and 5 assists for the season. Now, his performances were so good that the Dynamo Moscow fans online had actually voted him to be their player of the season, and based on those impressive performances, he was actually part of the provisional list for Russia's Euro squad. However, he wasn't able to take part in the tournament because he unfortunately picked up tonsillitis at the wrong time. Still though, since his first team debut and his exploits last season as well too, he's been ranked 11th in Goal.com's Next Gen Talent list, and he becomes the first ever Russian player to actually become part of that top 50. Now, due to the war that was happening in Ukraine, they didn't officially list him based on his representation for Dynamo Moscow. You know how the politics is, you guys. But regardless, you can't take away from the talent that he is and just how mature his game is at a very young age. Now that we understand a bit of his history, let's examine his game in further detail. And for me, he is the type of player I feel Thomas Tuchel would absolutely love, as he is the definition of being a multifaceted talent. And what I mean by that is that he can play in a variety of different positions and still affect the game, playing in different roles and positions. He's played on the left wing, the right wing, as an attacking mids, as a midfield player, and even once as a defense midfield player as well too, but predominantly he's played most of his football as a midfield player. One of the main reasons behind why is that over the past 2 years, Dynamo Moscow have used a multitude of different formations, playing 4-3-3, going to 4-4-2, going to 3-5-2 as well too, before currently going back to 4-3-3, whereas Zakharyan is playing on the left wing at this point in time. However, he also predominantly plays as a number 8 on the left-hand side of their midfield 3. And I think his ability to affect the game from different positions, because a lot of times players can play in different roles and positions and not really have much influence, is testament to how he thinks and the technical abilities that he possesses as well too. Now, none of this would make a difference if he didn't have that physical frame, of course, to be able to play top flight football against men. I think a lot of times when we look at a lot of talents, we forget that they need to have that physicality behind their game. At 6 foot, he's a player that will continue to grow as well too. He has the right upper body strength, the right frame as well too. And when you have a body that can support how you think and your technical abilities, this is what makes someone a wonder kid, in my personal opinion. Now, last year I actually spoke about the player when he was first originally linked, and the thing that immediately stood out to me is how elegant he is on the ball. I really like players that have that type of composure when they play and kind of make the game look a bit easier as well too. I think what really stands out about him though is that speed of his play, and I think that comes down to how he thinks. He's always like a step ahead in terms of his orientation in the team, when to play the right pass, the positioning of his teammates as well too. And when you combine that type of thinking alongside a physical presence where you can cope playing an intense game of 90 minutes against grown men, on top of having the technical abilities as well too, then you have a very special player. I think he has a nice long strides with his runs, especially when he carries the ball. And I think that due to that combination of control with those long strides with his dribbling style, he's always able to skip past this man in those last few yards. And he's very confident in carrying the ball, hence why he's getting over 3.5 dribbles a game. I like the fact that he is very comfortable using both feet. That is not something that every player possesses. He's very fast with either leg, and he can take shots from either foot. He can switch passes with either foot. He can play powerfully weighted balls in behind. And he's one of those guys that's very comfortable roaming between the lines and playing passes between them as well too. I think with someone like Tuchel, where we have a positional style game, you want players that are very comfortable receiving and playing in different parts of the pitch, able to equally affect the game whatever position they're receiving from. And when you possess all these types of talents together, it can make the game a little bit easier for the better players, as they're able to combine all their facets of their game perfectly. For example, if you're comfortable playing passes with either foot, it means that you can create better passing angles to play through balls and behinds. And to end things, for me, And I want you guys to just bear with me for a second, because a lot of times when you make comparisons, I feel like they're taken too far. But I get a bit of the same energy that I got when I first saw Kevin De Bruyne, when I was seeing comps from him like 10 years back when we first signed him from Genk. Kevin De Bruyne first stood out for me because I was thinking, wow, the way this guy's weight of pass is completely on point. The amount of times he plays the right pass at the right time on the counter-attack as well too. He had that physical frame to match. He was multifaceted, being able to play on the wings and in midfield as well too. And when you see how De Bruyne took his games to the next level in terms of, the ability to affect the game more with improvements in his shooting, his creativity, his passing, etc, etc. I feel like I see Zakharyan has the same base principles in his game, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he has a divine right at becoming a player as good as Kevin De Bruyne. There are many factors involved. And I guess I want to end things by actually saying this, because that season when we had players like Salah and Kevin De Bruyne, as a club, we're amazing at spotting the next best talents. But for me, we still don't show consistently that we can create the perfect pathways and actually help players go to the next level. We end up signing guys at a very good level, but how often have we really seen a player that we've bought young and developed to become a world-class player? It rarely happens. And I think when I saw De Bruyne suffering under Jose Mourinho, you're thinking to yourself, no wonder he's going to struggle here, because his style of football doesn't suit playing for a negative counter-attacking coach, where a lot of times Mourinho was using him on the right wing or the left wing, and he wasn't playing the game as a 10 because Oscar's ability to press from the front was deemed better suited for the team over the actual technical ability and footballing prowess of Kevin De Bruyne. And it comes down to this: if you're going to sign all these top potential stars, you need to create the conditions for them for their talents to be maximized. That's what it comes down to. So I'm hoping that with all the investments we're making to signing some top talents right now, we've learned from our mistakes and there's proper plans now to maximize and elevate their games as they've signed for us. So right now, my friends, we now end things on the final story, and let's discuss the latest updates on Trevoh Chalobah. Now, the amount of clubs after his name continue to grow and grow and grow. Currently, all the big clubs in Serie A like AC Milan, Inter Milan and Roma are showing interest. Reports that RB Leipzig are also interested in signing him, plus a host of Premier League clubs as well too. So he clearly did something right last season to have a host of, European clubs and clubs actually competing in Europe wanting to sign him before deadline day. Now, for Trev, he can only leave until a replacement comes first, so ideally he's waiting for Fofana's move to get completed, as he already has a numerous amount of offers presented to him, and he'll pick the final one once he knows he can actually leave. Now, part of me is kind of thinking, listen, if Chalobah was to go, we know that Milan are interested. They've shown interest as well to any of your Pulisic, your ZX. Could we do something mad for Leao, offer Trev on loan, plus a permanent sale, plus money on top? You'd like to think that's what the club are thinking currently. Todd Boehly hasn't been opposed to offering players in exchange to, sign players that he wants. But it's nice to know that when he does leave, he will be playing at the very highest level for very big clubs. And he should take a lot of inspiration from Tammy Abrahams, Tomori's, where, they found themselves surplus requirements, but have still gone on to show what they're really about. And I guarantee by the time that they reach their mature prime years, they'll be completely different and better players because they decided to move on and continue to, pursue their ambitions in their career. It gets me thinking about the futures now of Conor Gallagher as well as Armando Broja. With Aubameyang coming, for me, it's guaranteed he'll get less minutes. It's just how it works. People can talk about the fact that, we still need squad depth, but the reality is there's only a finite amount of minutes you can give to players per 90 mins, and if you're a young player that needs minutes to grow, to maximize their potential, it's not looking ideal for you. And it's the same thing for Conor Gallagher. The fact that we aren't really using a midfield 3 system, he isn't looking as comfortable playing in a pivot, and I think if you are to use him there, you can't ever play him there alongside Jorginho because it's just too weak. And knowing the fact that Anthony Gordon's move could potentially be dependent on either one of Broja or Gallagher moving to Everton on loan, it now gets me thinking, what is the actual career plan for these guys to really maximize the potential and become like those first team players for us? Because they already achieved at mid-table clubs last season, so if they were to go back out again, what's it really saying about their long-term future? Now, I do feel like either one of Broja or Gallagher would really benefit and learn from Frank Lampard. I feel like Lampard is fully behind youth development because Ranieri once was the manager that believed in him and allowed him to become the legend that he became in the end. And a lot of times, due to manager preference and opinions and tactics and so many factors, that can all play a part in affecting your like future final potential. So I guess we'll see what happens, but it's a bit mad that we're letting talents like this go to make a move for Anthony Gordon. So we'll see what happens with this one. But my friends, on that note, I'm going to wrap things up, keep things moving. How do you feel about this new potential signing in Arsen Zakharyan? Is he someone you like? And how do you feel about our plans now when it comes to signing some of Europe's best young prospects? So on that note, I'm Nini FC, this is BlueLionsTV. Cool.